Yes, y'all excited to talk about getting to the money? What better way to start the day than talking about cash flow, increase, getting to the bag? It's actually one of my favorite conversations, and we have a dynamic panel who is going to share from many different points of view, which I think will be very impactful for you. I'm Brianna Thompson. I'm the founder of Spiked Spin and Wellness here in Brooklyn. So I'm very excited to share the stage with these beautiful black people. So I want to jump right into the conversation. We will begin here with Andre. And how are we doing today, Andre?
Doing well, doing well.
Doing well? Excited about getting to the bag?
Oh, always.
Always talking about getting to the bag. So jumping in, you are the Chief Creative Officer at Annex 88. You work with brands, you have agency background, you work with creatives. What is something that creatives should keep in mind when thinking about how to price their offerings?
So the first thing I would say is WWWMD, what would a white man do? That's definitely always where I start. So no, the price you think is too high is probably not too high, right? Now, that being said, you gotta know the game, right? If you're going to a small business or a small company, their high is way different from a Budweiser or an HBO Max, a Nike, and taking Nike as an example. If you're talking to the New York social media team, their budgets are quite different from the folks that are doing the Colin Kaepernick stuff, right? So you have to understand the team you're working with, because you don't want to price yourself out, but you want to get to the top of that price point that you can. And the last thing I'll say is your rate is not your worth. It's what you can get for that project, right? That doesn't mean, like, you look at NBA contracts, right? You're on your rookie contract. Does that mean because the next day you re-up that contract and you get a supermax that you weren't worth a supermax the day before? It's not. It's relative to your situation.
I love that, and that's such great advice. And I want to lead straight into Miss Jessica, who is a travel expert and also an author, amongst many other things. But you are typically in the position where you need to provide your rate. And that comes with a level of needing confidence, of understanding the market. To Andre's point, how do you approach asking for what you know you are worth based on some of the titles that I mentioned and some of the things that you've accomplished to date?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really great question. And I think so much of it starts from understanding who you are and your specific value in the marketplace. So like, if a brand comes to me, they're not looking for a black girl who travels. They're looking for Jessica Nabongo, right? And I'm really clear about that. And that means the price is more than the black girl who travels. You know what I mean? So you have to differentiate yourself and make it crystal clear why they want you specifically. Because when brands come to me and I know they want me specifically, I can charge my rates, which a lot of people think might be astronomical, but those who can afford can afford. But I think so much of it, before you're even thinking about what your rate is you understanding what is your brand and what is your value in the marketplace versus other people. Are you irreplaceable, or are you just another person? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that's a really important part of it.
Before we move from there, I think that's very important for creatives to think about, because you clearly understand that, yes, there's a travel expert, which is an industry of creatives, but Jessica is special and significant within the space. Mm-hmm. How do you think about separating yourself, although many times now, like, we call ourselves, like, I'm my own brand, Jessica is the brand, but you're very clear, and like, there is a distinction between the two, and how that goes into you justifying your rates.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, to that point, like, everything that I've done up until this point, I'm one of one. And so
hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
And so my rate is based on my being one of one. And I would just say, even when you're in negotiation, first of all, anytime a brand emails you and tells you what their budget is, that's not the actual budget. You know, especially if it's through an agency, they're trying to capture as much of the value as possible. But if I know the brand wants me, I'm like, y'all gonna pony up. And so the one thing I would say in negotiation is, like, and it's every negotiation I think is an opportunity to learn how to raise your rates. So if you go back and you say a price and they're like, okay, great, you're like, then you know it was too low. If they say yes immediately, it was too low. And it's fine, get your money, but next time, start higher. So I will never go in with the rate that I actually want. I'm always gonna go in 10, 20, 30% above where I want to land because it's a negotiation. And everybody involved knows that it's a negotiation, especially when you're getting into the much bigger deals. When you're talking about six-figure deals, we all know we're gonna go back and forth. It's a little game that we're gonna play. But I would just say learn from every experience and just continue to continue to hone in on who you are and making sure that you become one of one so that brand wants you specifically.
And just, does my mic work? There you go. Just bouncing off of that, I mean, I think another thing that's key is us as black and brown people in particular being transparent with each other, right? We always see it as a zero-sum game. The best game I've gotten is from people that are my peers or people that are my mentors that tell me, no, that's too low, bro. You gotta go higher than that. There's more money on the table. And unless we start sharing with each other, we won't make up for generations of wealth hoarding that has occurred as a result of colonialism and all of that. So we gotta be able to share with each other, because me and Jessica, we both one of one, but not for the same reasons.
Exactly.
So we can share, right? And we need to spread that love.
And also, him knowing how much I got paid for a deal will never take money out of my pocket.
I love where you guys are going, and it's actually it's like you queued up where we're going with Ari. It's almost perfect.
It's literally perfect.
Ari is an entertainment executive, and so Ari, we know that sometimes negotiations, to Jessica's point and to Andre's point, they can go favorable to your client. They can be absolutely the opposite of what you had in mind. And so how do you help clients in navigating, one, the negotiation, but two, weighing between this is the money, but this is the opportunity, and which one matters more in this moment?
So as we know, it's not a lot of black agents in the industry. And so meaning if you are a black talent, you probably have a white agent. So they'll never give you the real of what's really going on, how much the rate really is. Because one, as an agent, I take 10% off top. And sometimes I don't, depending on the project. If the project is super tier 0, 1 million and under, I'm gonna look out for my client and say, hey, I'm not taking commission from you right now because this is something you need and something you wanna do, but the project is low. But with low budget projects, you can literally be more creative. The more money you have, the less creative you really are, because the studio, the production company, the producer, the director, they're all controlling that budget now. So you can't do anything. But when it's lower, they need you. But like you said, how do you decide between the two? We look at the talent, we look at the relationship. Is this something that's gonna build? Do you really respond to the script? If you don't respond to the script and it's just a money grab, you're gonna feel bad. It's gonna go on your resume, a producer will see it, and you can't explain to the producer, why did I take that project?
Yeah, and in those moments where you as an agent make a decision to impact your bag by potentially not taking whatever percentage you typically would, do you think that that's the responsibility of the role that you're in, or is it something that you advocating for black and brown people prioritize for yourself?
So because I'm a part of a massive agency, UTA, CAA, WME, we're not shouting them out, but they are bigger agencies. I don't work off of, the commission doesn't go directly to me. It goes to my department. So I'm gonna work hard for her client, his client, their client. And when I just transferred over from UTA, from APA, I snatched up all their clients that I liked personally, and I was like, I'm about to help you. I'm one of the only black women in production at any talent agent.
I love this.
So
I love this because it goes to you, first of all, being very confident in what you bring, which seems like the trend of
you have to
being
be
able to
confident.
get the bag.
In
Exactly.
negotiations, if you're talking to a producer and you're like, you can have the client for $2,000 a week. No, My client makes $5,500 a week. My client gets. It's how you word it.
Right.
Because if you word it like very soft and subtle, you're done.
Yes. To that point, Andre, I know you want to add something about gatekeeping and sharing information. And how do you guys approach that in your relative industries? This is for anybody who wants to jump in.
Oh, I think it's about, for me, everything is about community. So it's like you have to have that community of people that you're already close with. Like, I'm not gonna walk up to a stranger and be like, how much did you make on that deal? No, it's like, but you have to have that community and, create those relationships that are actually built on real friendship. Because I think a lot of times people are trying to build relationships and they're being very fake because it's very like, oh, what can I get out of you? Like, you're an agent, let me get close to her and, just what I can get out of her later. No, like people can tell when you're genuine. So I have genuine friendships with people, with a diverse group of people. So when it came to my book deal, I had somebody that I could call up, like, okay, does this make sense? I also have an amazing entertainment lawyer who's on at 10 a.m. Make sure you guys see her. But you know what I mean? So if it's like finance, I'm like, okay, I know such and such works with Amex. How much did they pay you for that deal? What were your deliverables? Okay, if it's tech, whatever it is, I have a Rolodex of real friends that I can hit up and say like, look, or if they have a friend, I'm like, yo, can you ask such and such what they got paid for this?
To that point, you all are here at CultureCon, which is a great opportunity to meet people who are like-minded. And you can start to build those relationships. And we want to keep in mind that getting to the bag and increasing your worth is in roles, right? So I love your point about making sure that you're building genuinely and connecting genuinely and not transactionally, because that's how you ultimately will increase your bag. When you do need to ask, Andre, who I know you want to add to this gatekeeping and sharing information conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I think the thing too, before we get to gatekeeping, coming back to the idea of community, I think it's important, right? I mean, you just said, right? If it's lower than $1 million, it's a small project, right? The prices are high, right? So we got to understand where we're playing. But as the prices go up, we're largely interacting with corporations. Corporations are derivative of governments, which are derivative colonial structures. So we're stepping outside of our understanding of the world into their understanding of the world. And when it comes to community, the historic predominant culture understands community in service of I. We understand community in service of us, right? If we all gonna try to escape a plantation, well, let's bring 10 of us, because 4 of us might die, but 6 might live and we all win, right? It's a very different mentality, so understand that when you're stepping out and you're stepping to that negotiation, right? Confidence tactics. Those are not our tactics and postures, but that's not what's important, because they're the ones who have the check. So we gotta make sure we know when we're stepping out, how we posture correctly so we're received correctly, because it's not our intention, it's our impact. You see what I'm saying?
I love to go back to like genuine connections. I love those obviously, but to work in entertainment, it's not really that real for us. And I am transactional. Unfortunately, like that is my job. Because if I wasn't, I'm not gonna be able to get their rate up. Like I have to worry about money on bigger projects. So like you said, if you know the budget beforehand, you know where to like ballpark your place at. But then I also ask other agents, what did you get your client for this? And I ask the white agents, and maybe sometimes I won't even ask them. I'll just go in our system, and I'm like, oh, this DP got 50 grand a week. Mine's definitely gonna get like 75, because you're gonna beat me down. But also, I had a coworker ask me at my last job, how much do you make? I was like, wait, why is she asking me that? And I'm happy she did. Because when I found out she made like half than what I was making, but I knew it going to my next job, I'm about to get the bag on every aspect.
Right.
But yeah, sorry, really quickly.
Go ahead.
And I'm glad she asked and you guys had that conversation, because I'm always like, there's always been this idea of like, don't talk about money, but we're hurting ourselves.
You don't talk about it.
If you don't know how much everybody else is making, you're operating in a vacuum. Like, how is that helpful?
Again, I think y'all read my cue cards, because we're literally going straight here. When brands come to you, and this is something that you see all of the time, brands come to the creative and they say, hey, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. What is your rate? And if you are new in the industry, if you don't have that community, if you're not talking about money, which typically is taboo, frankly, in Black and brown communities, how do you approach that? Where do you start? You're throwing out a number, you're throwing something at the wall and hoping that it sticks, but again, you're probably underpaid, you're probably undervaluing yourself. So when brands come to you and they say, okay, what's the rate? And they don't have the insight that you have, how do you approach that?
Take your time. Don't answer right away. Do not. Like, literally, it is okay to, like, take a step back and say, can I get back to you on that? But also ask the scope of the project. I'm not about to do 15 music videos and you're paying me for the price of one. And that's kind of how they get you. They don't give you the whole entire, ask all of the questions in the world. Like every question you could possibly think of.
And that's a fantastic question, right? When they ask you about the rate, again, what would a white man do? I'm not telling you. I'm not going to pigeonhole myself in the market. But what I will do is ask you, well, what are we delivering, right? Because if you work your way backwards from deliverables, we know movies cost anywhere from $1 million plus to 20 million, whatever. We know music videos can cost 20K, right? So if I know what you're making, which they'll gladly give you that information, I can work my way backwards, even if I don't have that community quite yet to give me those answers, right? So 100%.
Yeah, one thing, so great point. I'm like, so I never talk money on the phone.
No.
Because you can get flustered, you know what I mean? So I never, like, we'll have a creative call and I never will talk about money. The other thing is put somebody between you and the brand. So if you're new, you better make another email address. And even if it's you working on both of the emails, you need to just put somebody between you because then it'll make it more comfortable. So if, like, you're just starting out, you have assistant at whateveryourbrandis.com. Hi, this is Susie. This is, I manage Jessica's partnerships, blah, 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 blah. The other thing that I will say for content creators, especially if
You
you're
just
doing...
skip past that. That was a gym.
Oh, that...
Yes.
Like,
that was
like,
seriously a gem. Create that
Hello.
second email account
Be
today.
your own assistant? What?
Yeah, be your own
You're
assistant.
professional. You're for
Today.
real.
That's the
Yes.
finesse of getting to the bag.
And also make sure you have your own domain. I hate seeing people sending me at Gmail. I'm like, this isn't professional.
Don't
But
Yahoo.
but really quickly, if you're a content creator doing social media, understanding pricing. So there's a price for the deliverable. Okay, you want a reel. That's one price. Then you want me to be exclusive for 2 months in that category. That's another price. Then you want to use my reel with paid advertising. That's another price. So for me, when it comes to my rate for social, I'm building out a ton of prices. Like, how are you using the content? How much content? So you have to understand pricing isn't just, oh, I'm making a reel. What's the usage? What's the exclusivity? That goes into pricing as well.
Those are true gems because exclusivity prevents you from working with other partners, which impacts your pricing. So to this point, right, there are resources that you can use, you're building community, but we are here to talk about the price going up. And each of you are pretty far in your careers, but how often are we raising the price?
I'm a contract worker, sorry. So I work off of a contract. I do a three-year deal. I'm locked in. This is something that agencies do. It's very normal, but my attorney will renegotiate. But also when it comes to bonuses at the end of the year, something I learned from another attorney was write down everything you're doing so then when you have to do your one-on-one with your employer, this is what I brought to the table, this is how much money I brought to the table, and don't be scared to renegotiate even within contract.
I think that's important even if you are a corporate worker to make sure that you are tracking the value that you bring, and that's an easy way to make sure that you're
They'll
able
forget. They'll be like, wait, you did what?
Yes.
You know I did that.
You have to send those reminders. Go ahead,
That's
Andre.
100%. That's exactly what I was going to say. Across the board, when you negotiate, because I actually don't care if I got 3 years. As soon as I have my list, that's when I'm going back to the table. right? Hey, if month 2 I deliver the biggest campaign, one of the biggest clients that you ever had, I come with that list. Because you don't want to come in there and start negotiating and saying, oh, hey, well, I deserve this and I should get this. No, hey, here's a spreadsheet with all the projects, all I did, all the things that I've done. And once that starts to look pretty juicy, then you say, now let's talk. I sent you an email with what I've accomplished. That's your bargaining tools there. And if they don't want it, someone else will want it.
Even if you're in contract for 3 years, do it after the first year. Like, you don't have to listen. I'm sorry, like, you don't. Like, that, they do it all the time.
Absolutely. Jess, do you have anything to add to raising the price
when
of
the
Miss
rate goes
Author?
up? So for me, I have like baseline rates that I would say go up like every year or after every major project that comes out. Like when that book came out, the price went up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
It's National Geographic, the price has gone up. And so, and also remember what I said, when you're negotiating, if you reach out and you say a number and they say yes straight away, you need a new baseline. So there's all of these different factors. And then also when other people bring you a lot more money, the price goes up. Because if this brand is like super quick story, I was developing a show with a huge network and I ultimately walked away and it was one of the hardest things that I ever did. But then a week later, a brand came in and is paying me 8 times.
Wow. 8? 8x.
8. And these numbers are big numbers. 8 times
I know that's
what
right.
the network was going to pay me virtually for the same work. So now the price is crazy now.
Basically, we cannot afford Jessica is what it's being. I think as we're wrapping up, I love having these conversations about money. I think that we are an empowered group, but I'm also very aware of the insecurity that can come with asking for money. I've been there. I know what it feels like to devalue yourself. And so I would love to share with the audience real tangible advice of, obviously we know you need to be one of one. You need to be great. You need to be the best. But that doesn't stop that inner voice of like, I don't want to miss this. This is so great. So how do we empower this audience with confidence to go and up that price?
I think one thing we haven't really touched on is being financially savvy when you get the money. Make sure you're good. The reason I can say no to big companies and big opportunities is because I'm good. Because I save money, I don't spend all of my money as soon as it comes in. You know, I don't know, I think you said contract. I'm a 1099 girl. I gotta put away money for taxes.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people don't think that. They're like, oh, I got this $50,000 check. I'm about to go buy some Cartier and all this other shit. And it's like, did you put away 30% for Uncle Sam? Did you save money for yourself? So I think so much of it is making sure you're good. So when you need to, because sometimes you need to say no. When you need to say no, you're able to do it because you're good. So much of it is making sure that financially you're doing what you need to do to make sure you have that backup plan.
That's a gem.
So you can say no when people come at you crazy.
That is a gem in life, right? When you're prepared, you are in the driver's seat, which is a beautiful place to be when navigating your finances. Anything else?
I think if you're confident talking about money, you'll attract it. You'll get an abundance of it. I am one of those people, if I spend it, I know I'm gonna get it back because I believe it. So I just continue to spend money, but also confidently talk about money to the point where whenever I'm negotiating with somebody, they're like, oh, she knows what she's doing. When I first started, I was just throwing numbers out and they stuck. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I know how to do this, but I'm confident.
Right.
But if you're not confident, I wouldn't want to buy something from you. I'm sorry.
All right, guys, before we let you go, we have to obviously plug the Catch Me If You Can one woman's journey to every country in the world. Do y'all know what that means? Every country in the world. I mean, girl, this book is currently available, and luckily because y'all showed up early and I'm in a good mood, we're gonna give 3 of these books away to 3 lucky audience members. And I'm gonna pick the 3. So your reaction was incredible, blue shirt.
Okay.
You're standing, you're already excited. And then I'm
She
just
knew
gonna
what
do
she
a
was
blind. Okay, you sir standing up waving at me. You can meet me, yes, red lips, blue dress. Beautiful, colorful, yes. And then you, sir, coral shirt. Meet me stage left, and you will get Jessica's new book. So thank you all for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Panelists.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.